Welcome back to another episode of Another Take on Personal Leadership with myself, Nick Phillips, and the man across from me, Tim Marsh. Today, Tim, we're going to discuss this above the line, below the line concept again. But what we're going to talk about is what we can do when we identify people that aren't in our team, that we can see that they are below the line. So what's front of mind for you there, Tim?
I immediately go to what are we in control of? You know, it's ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this next piece, which is what can we influence? So when we start talking about people who aren't in our teams, we're already covering both camps, but we're in the influencing space. So there's a question about, do we want to influence? And are we capable of influencing?
Mm-hmm.
So some of that's an individual choice. So I think depending on the relationship, some of this comes back to there are people that we deal with every day who could be our boss, our peers, the people who are in our team, our clients, other stakeholders who are part of the process. There's a good reminder to ourselves of just refreshing the importance of that relationship. So if it's important enough, then we can answer the first question about, do we want to influence it? Okay, so that's first piece. Second piece is, can we, and you know, we start talking about our capability in it. So there is that choice every day, and I'm mindful of we are humans and we only have 24 hours in a day and we only have so much energy and time. So part of this is that question that we're applying. So I just want to stress that because that's the core of everything that we do. What am I in control of? My own attitude and behaviour and how I lead and manage myself.
Yep.
And what do I choose to influence around me? You then start looking at, there are some people, and we've got to be very, very careful. There are some people who, as we spoke about in previous episodes, may not have self-awareness. So therefore, how you broach this could end up with someone being very defensive or not being pleased about the conversation. But there's also some people who will really want to work with you on this. I genuinely believe the majority of people actually want to do the right thing and want to get better outcomes. And so if we're talking about clients, the clients that you work with inherently want an outcome, and that's normally the same as you.
Yes.
So connecting it to that then becomes the why we're doing it. And I reiterate this whole thing is, let's be clear on the why and then let's engage around that rather than go straight in and go, do you know you're below the line all the time and you're driving me crazy and you need to sort it?
Yes.
So
big difference there.
yes. So now there's all sorts of ways of doing this. Let's say it's with a client. All right. Now, a very tricky one because you could burn your bridges there and lose that client if you don't deal with this.
Of course. High importance.
Yes. So coming to a time where you can have a conversation about reviewing maybe where the relationship is and what needs to go forward might be the starting point for it. But it's not with this hidden agenda of then I'm going to jam them with that you're below the line.
Okay, yes.
It's building on that.
Yep.
It's then being able to have, say, an after-action review or however you want to term it, of what are we doing well, what is it that we might need to work on, and what's some areas that we might need to review or stop doing in this process. The next layer down allows you to start to introduce this part of, let's talk about me as an individual in this process, and I'm looking for some feedback. And so this is just a perspective and an idea, but let's use a concept about when you're dealing with me, here's some words, once again, some words on a page. Which of these words do you associate with me more than another? And the reason why I'm introducing this to you because I think it's a logical way of me holding myself to account on my behaviours and how I act, because I know it has an impact on you and your organisation. There may be an opportunity at that meeting to be able to say, is this useful to you at all to discuss for yourself, or are you not interested at the moment, which allows you to feel some of that out. So you start to introduce a concept. Now you might be able to come back on that a couple of times and then find the person gets the sense of, hey, this isn't for any other purpose but to get a better outcome. You may find some people who just go, no, we're not going down this path at all.
Yes.
Don't touch it. I'm too fearful or whatever's going on in my world, and there's not a chance we will ever broach that. You then can, number one, say, hand on heart, I've taken it to a point that I can, so I've influenced it to a point that I can. And I now make the decision about if this is still an important relationship, which I may review that after that time and say, actually it's not, and maybe it sounds like an extreme, but maybe I don't want to work with that client anymore. That is possible. However, if I conclude that it is an important client to work with, I obviously need to have another strategy, and it might mean that I need to have another party that I'm talking to in the business to be able to get some feedback through in a way that's constructive. Once again, it's not, I'm going to go to the CEO and tell him how bad the chief operating officer is.
Yes, yeah.
But there is an importance of building some feedback in this that gets a better outcome. Because ultimately, if you don't have this conversation, if the person's not letting you have it, if you don't have this conversation, it's brewing up to be a problem somewhere else. And there will be a time, let's say you stop working with that client, someone else takes it on, it comes to a head a lot quicker and becomes a real problem. So this is ultimately, we're always coming back to how do we enable, when we're influencing other people, how do we enable other people to make more informed choices?
Makes sense.
But knowing that it's an influence, I have no control over them. So at some point, I may have to draw a line and say, I can't go any further.
And that's very important because you can probably find yourself in a bit of a loop there, thinking that you should be able to control them, or maybe not control them, but you should be able to get a different outcome because you're not happy with the way that things are at the moment, and that can also zap a lot of energy from you, worrying about that.
Yep. And I see it regularly. There's people who it's eating them up because they're thinking, well, there's something wrong with me because this isn't changing. And it's, it is call it a 50-50 kind of arrangement at the end of the day. So hence why the why is so important in it. And you apply this to your line manager, you apply it to colleagues.
Yep.
Ultimately, you as an individual always have that choice, whether you realise it or not, of saying, I choose to influence it, I choose to put up with it, or I choose to not be here at all.
Yeah.
And the not be here at all might mean I choose not to interact with you very much. That's another choice. These are logical, like I said, I think the real world is that there's going to be times where things won't go the way you want them to go. But you're always in control of what you do with that. It'd be nice if everyone got on and everything worked well and everyone was above the line. It'd actually be boring and most of us wouldn't have jobs as a consequence.
Wouldn't be interesting.
Yes.
All right, well, as we always do, 7-day commitment for our viewers.
I think the first piece is recognise a relationship that's worthwhile working on.
Okay, identify one of these relationships.
Yep. Pick one. And obviously there's a good 7 day after that about prep for it, but identify it. Think about, is there a relationship that is worthwhile doing something about? Maybe it's not working as well as it could be.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Tim.
No problem.
We'll see you in the next episode.